Part 2 of cutting kids' hair. Joining me again is Natasha and her son Graydon, and we're gonna be doing short hair cutting. Now, short hair cutting is more challenging, there's more steps, and we're going to need tools and probably more of them this time. So we need a cape, we also need some clips, and now 2 types of scissors. So pick these up from your nearest hair supply or check even Amazon. Okay. You do want to have a blending shear because we're also going to be using a clipper. And the clipper, we're going to need some guards. I also have a blow dryer just to kind of blow any little stray hairs out of the way. For a short-haired setup, you want to try to get a chair that's going to be as high as possible. That way you're not going to be hunched or bent over for too long. So in this case, we've done a bit of a booster, but at home, kitchen counter, anything that you can kind of walk around is going to be ideal. The other thing that I recommend is cutting kids' hair dry. Cutting hair wet, number one, you're not used to holding it in your fingers. So if it is wet, it's just gonna be more slippery and harder to manage. And when your kid has curl or wave to their hair, do try cutting it at home. But if they have really, really straight hair, I recommend you take them to the hairdresser. The other thing is some kids have really big heads. And for them, I would also recommend that you send them to the hairdresser.
Fair enough.
Now that we have the cape on, we're gonna talk about how we're gonna divide the head. With most short haircuts, we sort of look at the bottom half and we think of how short do we want this versus the top. The dividing point of the head, there's actually a bone right here. It's called the parietal ridge. You don't have to remember that. It's not gonna make you better at cutting your kid's hair. However, we do wanna section off at that point. Now, because Graydon has nice curl or wave in his hair, we're gonna clip that out of the way. And you can see my sections are not super perfect, okay? I do not need to have perfect sections because it'll just make it harder to blend afterwards. So I'm just using my pinky finger, okay? And I'm taking clips and I'm clipping it out of the way. You can also see that I'm doing this on a slight diagonal. That's so that we have enough length in the back here so that he doesn't get that old alfalfa style or that hair sticking up in the back. So you wanna make sure that you have enough clips to hold this hair out of the way. So here you can see the growth pattern, okay? I wanna make sure that I'm clipping that hair up out of the way because it's gonna be harder to cut, so we wanna leave a little bit of length there. Now that we have everything sectioned off, we're gonna move on to the clipper. So a little bit of clipper information. You're gonna notice that your clipper has an adjustable blade. So it can go really, really short by pulling everything to the front or as long as possible. You always wanna make sure that your clipper blade is all the way to the back before you add a guard. This is just gonna help create movement throughout the cutting action. All right, so we're gonna get started. So I'm gonna turn that on. And it is a machine that buzzes and it vibrates. So sometimes it can be ticklish for a kid, so work in stages, okay? The other thing is I'm gonna hold your ear down. If you have a hard time doing this, get Graydon to hold his ear down. Okay? So we'll try it first. I'm gonna hold down his ear and I'm just gonna come up and through. And because we sectioned that top half out of the way, there's no chance of me really making a shape that's gonna look too funny, okay? So I'm coming up. The other thing that I'm doing is I am sort of going onto a diagonal as well. And why I'm doing that is because not all hair grows in the exact same direction. Okay? So I'm coming through and I'm gonna work that way all the way around.
Just evening out?
Just evening it out. So I'm going one way. Even the hair here likes to grow back. So if it's possible or comfortable for you, you can come back the other way. Okay. So because kids have very small heads, sometimes what you need to do is stretch this area here. And so to do that, Graydon's looking down and then a little bit to the side so that I can get my hand right in where the clipper is. I'm not pushing hard towards the head. I'm really just letting the clipper and the guard glide very carefully over the head. All right, so this is the hardest part of cutting short hair, and it's to clean up any of the pieces that your clipper left a little longer. So if you have sort of natural growth going this way, I say leave it alone. The hardest part is gonna be making sure your sideburn is straight, because what we're gonna do is literally just hold the scissor up against the skin, okay? I'm gonna leave it a little bit longer like so. And then for me, it's comfortable to hold the ear out of the way. And then I'm just gonna use the tips of the scissors to remove any little hairs behind the ear. And even in here, so we're gonna do this area here. For that, we're gonna get Graydon to look sort of to the side. And then that way, what I can do is just come in with my scissor this way. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with leaving sort of unfinished edges also on kids' hair, because we need to make sure that our expectations are that this is kids' hair and that you are doing it at home. Right. So less is more, little bits at a time, because it's a good trim. So let's try the other side, okay? This time I am gonna hold the hair in between my fingers, but I'm going to just really carefully remove a little bit of length. I'm not gonna start with too much. And we're actually gonna do something like a bowl cut, but trust me, we're not gonna leave it there. I'm gonna continue taking that length.
And this is just for length.
This is just for length, and I'm gonna walk. So I'm kind of walking all the way around. And I'm taking off that little bit of length all the way. And you can see a bit of a line here, but don't worry, that's where we're gonna use a blending shear, and we're also gonna do a tiny bit of layering. All right, so you've accomplished all of that so far. Now we're gonna layer the top.
Okay.
This is gonna be a little bit more difficult. We're gonna start first just by sectioning away the crown. So can you see that the growth pattern is starting right here?
Yes.
Okay, so using a clip, I'm just gonna kind of clip away the top half of that whorl or cowlick, okay? Because what we're gonna do in here is we're gonna layer it a little bit.
Okay.
Gather up all of this hair, so using like a back and forth method. And then I'm going to, so this is the length that I don't want to cut. So I'm going to pull my fingers away a little bit, and that's how I'm going to layer. Alternatively, if that's too difficult, you can use a texturizing shear. So what a texturizing shear does is it cuts only half of the hair. That's why there's teeth like this. Right. And we can subsection, so you'll only have half of that half or a quarter of the hair to deal with. So I'm just gonna kind of comb that hair away, and then with my texturizing shear, I'm just gonna do it a couple of times.
And we can get that at
You can pick that up, yes, Beauty Supply. And all that'll do is sort of break up this weight line and reduce some of the hair that's in there. And then when I'm combing, I'm just kind of checking to see how well everything blends. If it's still looking like it's not quite as blended as I want, then I can just do a few more snips in that area. Nice, good job, Natasha. You are doing it. And we're going to now sort of look at this length in here. So this is really where your skills are gonna show of how well you can cut your kids' hair, okay? Because we're going to cut that straight across, like in a line, okay? So again, if you're finding it hard to do with the comb and the scissors, what I would recommend is you see a hairdresser. Okay, so I'm gonna go across, and what I'm gonna do at the very front here is I'm going to make sure to comb Graydon's hair back.
Okay.
Because if I don't comb it back, what can happen is it can get way too short at the front.
Right.
And no one wants to be the kid going back to school with the haircut that's a little too short. And then, Natasha, we're gonna go through the same thing, but with our thinning shear.
Okay.
Again, if you're having a hard time with the comb and the scissor, okay, so doing this motion, what you can do, because we're not necessarily looking for something really technical, we're just trying to blend, you can also just pick up, okay, and then just gather.
Okay.
That will also work, okay? All right, Natasha, we are done. You did a great haircut here on Grade In. It looks very nice.
Good.
With practice, it's only gonna become easier.
Right.
It's gonna go faster, but you did an excellent job.
Well, thank you
and
for your
working
help.
on curly textured hair always makes it so much better.
Right.